There are calls for the province to remove municipal taxi boundaries to allow drivers in Metro Vancouver to pick up and drop off anywhere in the Lower Mainland. Joining us to talk about this a little further is Gurdeep Sahota, the General Manager of Sunshine Cabs in North Vancouver. Thanks for being here. Good morning.
My pleasure. Welcome.
So let's start with what the impact of having these municipal boundaries and regional boundaries in place is having on your drivers.
Well, you know, our drivers are actually leaving us. A lot of our vehicles are parked. They'd rather drive for companies where they can pick up and drop off anywhere and everywhere, wherever the passengers want to go and be picked up. And I was, as you were talking before, I said I'm going to say, bring greetings from the land that time forgot in terms of where the taxi companies are today. Metro Vancouver is the only regional district with boundaries in all of BC, and that is greatly inhibiting our ability to compete with Uber and Lyft.
Can you explain that to us a little bit further? Some people hear the term deadheading, but they might not understand what that means. So how are your drivers being affected, and does it allow you to compete level-headed with other companies like Uber and Lyft?
So deadheading describes when a taxi is taken out of their municipal area into a neighboring municipality. They cannot pick up there, they have to drive back empty. This leads to congestion, leads to higher costs for us, leads to longer wait times for passengers, and also lower incomes for drivers.
Right. Now, Claire Trevena has said that it's not up to the province to remove these boundaries. It's up to the Independent Passenger Transportation Board. They will likely consider all of this once they see how ride sharing kind of plays out in the Lower Mainland. Tell me about this petition that you have now helped launch.
So we have partnered with the Surrey Board of Trade to launch this petition to gather public support and to call on the Minister of Transportation to use her powers and eliminate these boundaries. So the PTB has already spoken about this way back in 2012 when they allowed some suburban companies to work in downtown, but that decision was blocked by the City of Vancouver for 7 years. And it took this provincial government to clear the way for those taxis to operate in downtown. So it's actually Claire Trevena who has the power to change these rules.
Okay. How significant of an impact have you seen? You mentioned that you are losing drivers to some of these ride-hailing companies, and you did make it clear in the past that that's in part because many of these drivers don't own the licenses themselves, so it's easy enough for them to leave.
So they're operating leased vehicles, so for them it is easy. But those who actually own the vehicles, the owner-operators, they're stuck. They can't go anywhere.
Right.
And we're losing about 25 to 30% of our business is gone. And it's also had a major impact at the airport as well, although, it could be linked to the coronavirus as well. A lot of flights are canceled.
Right.
But for us in the Lower Mainland, we're the only major district with boundaries, and nowhere else in the province are there boundaries for taxis.
Now, you did address this right off the top in your first answer, but what do you say to criticism from people who say this is just something that is affecting many industries? It's changing times. There are many countries around the world who have ride-hailing services in place, and the taxi industry just needs to try and keep up.
So we would like to change, but we cannot change the regulations by ourselves. The regulations are imposed on us by a provincial regulatory regime that is controlled by the government, and that is why we're pleading with Claire Trevena to please change these boundaries, remove them, and that'll allow us to effectively compete with ride-hailing services in British Columbia. And we're ready, willing, but unable to compete because of this red tape.
And March 16th is the deadline, right, for that petition?
Correct.
Okay, yes. Gurdeep Sahota, thanks so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you.